Welcome to COFAM News TV. To stay updated, please remember to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share the news with your network. Thank you.
In a dramatic intervention, exactly 52 days after a federal high court sitting in Abuja affirmed the sentence of IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu, Vice President Kashim Shettima has delivered an impassioned appeal to the Southeast, warning that the region stands on the precipice of economic suicide. Stripping away official formalities, the Vice President addressed the nation today, acknowledging the palpable silence that has enveloped the region since the court's verdict, describing it not as peace, but as the silence of the graveyard. His address comes amidst heightening tensions and the intensification of. Shettima did not mince words regarding the economic toll of the agitation. He cautioned that the continued lockdown is deindustrializing the region and handing a competitive advantage to neighbors like Asaba. You are hurting the widow in Abakaliki. You are hurting the apprentice in Nnewi. Shettima stated, asking, will you burn down your own house just to show your anger at the landlord? However, in a significant shift in government posture, the Vice President extended a clear olive branch. While upholding the Supreme Court's decision as the rule of law, Shettima hinted that the Tinubu administration is open to a political resolution, specifically mentioning the President's prerogative of mercy. The law is rigid, but politics is fluid, Shettima declared. He conditioned any potential release of Kanu on the immediate cessation of violence, noting, you cannot plant the seeds of freedom on soil that is soaked with the blood of your brother. To facilitate this, the presidency announced the immediate formation of a grand dialogue for Eastern stability, inviting Ohaneze Ndibo, traditional rulers, and youth groups to the negotiation table. Furthermore, Shettima proposed a Marshal Plan for the Southeast, a dedicated revitalization fund aimed at infrastructure projects like the dredging of the River Niger and the Eastern Railway Corridor. The Vice President reserved his harshest criticism for diaspora-based agitators, urging the youth not to become pawns for those living in comfort abroad. The choice before the Southeast today is stark, Shettima concluded. One path leads to isolation and ruin. The other leads to a political resolution and the potential release of your son, Mazi Kanu. The presidency stated they are now waiting for a reciprocal signal from the region's leaders to operationalize the proposed dialogue. Here's
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Fellow Nigerians, my brothers and sisters of the Southeast, Ndi Igbo, the heartbeat of our nation's commerce and the custodians of a resilience that has long defined the African spirit, I stand before you today, stripped of the sterile formalities of office, speaking not merely as the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, but as a friend, an ally, and a concerned citizen who watches with a trembling heart as the skies over the Oriental region turn dark with the foreboding clouds of an impending storm. It has been exactly 8 weeks, 60 days and 60 nights since the gavel fell in the Supreme Court, affirming the sentence of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Since that day, we have watched a profound and palpable silence descend upon the vibrant streets of the Southeast. But we know that this silence is not the tranquility of peace. It is the silence of the graveyard, the eerie quiet that precedes a cataclysm. It is a silence pregnant with rage, heavy with grief, and bursting with the unspoken threat of a conflagration that, if allowed to ignite, will spare neither the innocent nor the guilty. We are aware of the storm that is building up. We hear the whispers in the market squares of Aba. We sense the pulsating tension in the arteries of Onitsha. We see the rising tides of agitation in the frantic youth of Owerri. The intelligence reports are concerning, yes, but one does not need a security briefing to feel the anguish of a people who feel that their hero has been taken away and that their voice has been stifled within the chaotic symphony of the Nigerian state. I have come to you today to speak truth to power and truth to conscience. I have come to light a candle in this wind, to appeal to the better angels of our nature before the storm breaks and washes away the delicate bridges of unity we have spent decades rebuilding. Let us address the elephant in the room without prevarication. The sentencing of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was a judicial outcome, the climax of a legal marathon that has tested the very elasticity of our Constitution. To the government, it was the affirmation of the rule of law and the sovereignty of the Nigerian state. But I am not naive. I understand that to millions of you in the Southeast, this was not merely a legal judgment. It was perceived as a moral indictment, a political statement, and a stinging slap on the face of a people who have long nursed the wounds of perceived marginalization. We understand the emotion, we understand the psychology of the hero figure in the struggle for identity. When a people feel besieged, they cling to the symbol of their resistance. Mazi Kanu became that symbol for many. Therefore, seeing him sentenced to a life behind bars has naturally triggered a collective trauma, a sense of hopelessness that is now curdling into a dangerous desperation. However, as the great Socrates reminded us in the bustling squares of Athens, it is better to suffer wrong than to do wrong. And as a democratic government, we are bound by the chains of the law. The executive arm, led by my principal, His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, cannot arbitrarily tear up the pages of a Supreme Court ruling without setting a precedent that would ultimately consume the very democracy we swore to protect. Yet, while the doors of the courtroom may have closed, the windows of political engagement remain wide open. The law is rigid, but politics is fluid. The law deals in judgments, but leadership deals in solutions. We are saying to you today, do not let the finality of a court verdict drive you into the finality of war.
What if I told you that the life sentence handed down in November wasn't the worst news Nnamdi Kanu received in 2025? What if the real sentence...
For 2 months, we have seen the intensification of the sit-at-home orders. We have seen the enforcement of a paralysis that is eating the Southeast from the inside out. The Igbo man is globally synonymous with enterprise. You are the Jews of Africa blessed with an uncanny ability to turn sand into gold, to rise from the ashes of the Civil War with nothing but 20 pounds and build empires that stretch from the Idumota markets to the stock exchanges of London and Dubai. This industrial spirit is the envy of the continent. But look at what this storm is doing. By shutting down the Southeast every Monday and now threatening a total lockdown, you are not hurting the federal government in Abuja. The allocation from the federation account still comes to your governors. The oil still flows in the Delta. The bukas in Lagos and the farms in Kano are still operating. Who are you hurting? You are hurting the widow in Abakaliki who sells vegetables to feed her children. You are hurting the apprentice in Niue who needs to sell auto parts to gain his freedom. You are hurting the sick in Enugu who cannot get to the hospital because the roads are barricaded by unknown gunmen. You are deindustrializing the Southeast. Investors are fleeing. Companies are relocating to Asaba, to Port Harcourt, to Lagos. You are handing over your competitive advantage to your neighbors. This is not resistance. This is economic suicide. It is self-immolation. As the storm builds, I ask you, will you burn down your own house just to show your anger at the landlord? The Southeast loses billions of naira every day the markets are closed. This is money that could build schools, pave roads, and empower the very youth who are now carrying arms in the bush. We cannot build a Biafra of the mind on the ruins of the Igbo economy. We must also look at history. The Igbo nation has seen the face of war. You have looked into the abyss of conflict and survived. The scars of the late 60 seconds are still etched on the landscape and in the memories of our fathers. The late Dim Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu, the Ikemba himself, a man of immense courage, eventually returned to Nigeria. He joined the political process. He ran for president. He understood that while the right to self-determination is recognized, the path of armed insurrection in a complex state like Nigeria is a road paved with unnecessary sorrow. The storm you are building now, this mobilization of kinetic rage, threatens to drag the Southeast back into a dark era of military confrontation. We do not want this. President Tinubu does not want this. We do not want to deploy soldiers to the streets of Umuahia. We do not want the skies of Anambra to be filled with the sound of fighter jets. We want them filled with cargo planes carrying goods to the world. But no government in the world can fold its arms and watch a region slide into anarchy. No government can tolerate non-state actors dictating the movement of citizens and declaring territories ungovernable. If this storm breaks, the state would be forced to act to protect the sovereignty of the Federation, and in that clash, it is the common man who suffers. Let us learn from the wisdom of the elders. The great Chinua Achebe wrote, "He who fetches ant-infested faggots must be prepared for the visit of lizards. Let us not invite the lizards of destruction into our homes by piling up the faggots of violence." So, what is the alternative? If the court has ruled and the anger is high, where do we go from here? I am here to tell you that the Tinubu administration is not your enemy. We are your partners in progress. We recognize that the agitation for Biafra is a symptom of a deeper malaise, a feeling of exclusion, a feeling that the Nigerian structure is skewed against you. We are ready to talk. The president has authorized me to announce the framework for a grand dialogue for Eastern stability. This is not a trap. This is an open table. We are inviting the Ohanizing Igbo, the traditional rulers, the religious clergy, and most importantly, representatives of the youth groups and agitators. Come, let us reason together. You want the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu? The courts have finished their job, but the Constitution empowers the president with the prerogative of mercy. It empowers the state to seek political solutions to criminal matters in the interest of national security. But how can we discuss mercy when the streets are burning? How can we discuss a political release when police stations are being attacked? Put down the weapons. Call off the sit at home. Let the markets open. Let the children go to school. Give us the atmosphere of peace that is required for a political solution to germinate. You cannot plant the seeds of freedom on soil that is soaked with the blood of your brothers. We are proposing a Marshal Plan for the Southeast, a distinct economic revitalization fund that addresses the infrastructure decay in the region. We want to dredge the River Niger. We want to ensure the Eastern Railway Corridor becomes a reality. We want the gas reserves in the Southeast to power an industrial revolution in Aba. But we cannot build railways on tracks rigged with explosives. We cannot dredge rivers while avoiding sniper fire. To the young men in the forest, the ones fueling this storm, I hear your frustration. You feel the country has failed you. You look at the opulent lifestyles of politicians and you compare it to your lack of jobs, and you are angry. You have found in the agitation a sense of purpose, a sense of belonging. But I beg you, do not let your youth be wasted in a war that has no front lines. Do not become pawns in a game where the masters sit in comfort in Europe and America, broadcasting hate and directing you to destroy your own land, while their own children attend Ivy League universities abroad. Those inciting you from the safety of the diaspora will not be there when the bullets fly. They will not be there to rebuild the bond markets. You are the ones who will inherit this land. Do not inherit a wasteland. The great Zik of Africa, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, believed in one Nigeria not because he was weak, but because he saw the strategic advantage of the Igbo playing on a large field. Nigeria is big enough for your dreams. Do not shrink your horizon. The storm is gathering, my brothers. The wind is howling. The choice before the Southeast today is stark. One path leads to isolation, economic ruin, and a kinetic clash with the federal might that will leave scars for another generation. That is the path of the storm. The other path is difficult. It requires swallowing pride. It requires patience. It requires strategic engagement. But it leads to a political resolution, the potential release of your son, Mazi Kanu, through diplomatic means, and the restoration of the Southeast as the economic tiger of West Africa. We in the presidency have made our choice. We choose peace. We choose dialogue. We choose brotherhood. We are waiting for you. The hand of friendship is stretched out across the Niger Bridge. Do not slap it away. Do not let the anger of today steal the promise of tomorrow. Let calm return to the east. Let the storm pass. Long live the Igbo nation. Long live the Federal Republic of Nigeria.